Um, Bitcoin in particular, like I wasn't really surprised to see that I tweeted about it multiple times last week where, we had like 500 million in asks being quoted here. If we're taking a look at Trading Light, right, we can see here, they've actually removed partials there, right, which is a good sign. However, I mean, on the left side, we've got Binance, and on the right side, we've got Coinbase. And in between these two pairs, we had like 3K Bitcoin being stacked slightly above the high. And in my opinion, I mean, even if we're bullish, right, that's usually going to be causing a lot of trouble on the first attempt. So while I'm not going to be saying that the bull market is over whatsoever. However, I do think that we're in for a bit more of a range bound activity, which will be good for us because I think personally, like, trending days are really easy to trade, right? As we mentioned within the previous stream, where we can look for previous day value and how to trade those. But ultimately, right, when we're forming a range like we're currently doing, that provides a lot of two-way trades, which is going to be good for us to be looking for mean reversion at range high or range low for that matter. So yeah, well, that's good to hear, Grant. Well, those longer trips are usually tiring. Like, I can definitely understand why it's tiring for you as well. Like, I've got the same issue. What's up, Crackdown? Hope you're well, man. So, this being said, if we're taking a look at the current structures on VWAP right here, and guys, let me know if you want to take a look at TPO as well, because I'll open up a TPO layout on TradingView. On the yearly, right? We are finding resistance here on the standard deviation tree. It's not necessarily an area where I'm like, this is an auctionable trade whatsoever. However, it's good to understand that we're reaching into an extremely overextended market here, which we clearly see right here, right, by that deviation above the standard deviation tree. Is there any auctionable trade purely based on the yearly? There still is none, in my opinion. Like, it's good to see that the developing value is creeping upwards, right? The higher it goes, the better for us. But right now, I have nothing of interest here on the yearly. Then we're taking a look at the quarterly. Let's move this out of the way real quick because it's annoying me. Let's get my mic closer to my mouth. All right, so if we're taking a look at this, we've got the quarterly developing value area. Now, if we're taking a look at the previous interactions here with quarterly developing value, we can clearly see that it has been a really important cornerstone when Bitcoin is auctioning higher, right? And this is mainly why I personally think that if we're about to form a range here, right? And, maybe we do a bit of two-way trade here early on in the week. And eventually, like, I'm not saying that we're getting one, but should we get a spike lower, I personally believe that 88K is going to be the trend following trade that you want to be taking. It is confluent with this daily BV down close candle, right? Right, smack that in the middle of that bearish bullish order block. My bad, bearish order block. Oh my gosh. So I think, should there be on a higher time frame, right? Of course, there's going to be trades in the middle of this, but should there be a bigger spike lower, we really need to see that quarterly developing value high level support for continuation higher, right? And that will be good, in my opinion, to form, a bit of a bigger range here before continuation upwards. Let Bitcoin form a range that will allow altcoins to breathe, right? Build another base, then we can get some more altcoin exposure again, and then rinse and repeat, right? But, these thin moves higher, I prefer a bit more of a base before continuation. If we're taking a look here on the monthly, same story. This is basically what I'm expecting on the quarterly to form. We saw a thin move higher, then we retested the monthly developing value area high support, and we can clearly see it, guys, right? Monthly developing value, every time we were unable to break below, right? Support, and then we're getting that continuation higher. So monthly as well, as long as we're trading above monthly developing value area high, right, we should be good. Now, I prefer to get maybe a bit more of this, and then, and then a reclaim, right? Because it is now the 24th. So we've got 6 more days. We've got like one more week left within this month. And when that closes, let's zoom in a bit more again. When that closes, we will have new previous month value. Now that will mean that the previous month value high will come in around roughly 94K, right? The previous month VWAP will come in roughly around 85, 58, my bad. I always mix those numbers up. So that's a huge range, right? And we can trade that. So if we're getting acceptance back within this, and we're getting support from the quarterly developing value high, which is roughly around here, and we try to break back above previous month value, but we fail to do so, then this opens up a really good trade, in my opinion, confluent with that previous high, for a rotation back all the way down towards that 85, which is going to be the previous month VWAP, which is, confluent with a sweep of these lows. And then we'll have to see, right? Is this going to be the low of this current retracement that we're getting? Are we even going to be going this far, right? Who knows? Because that's the thing that we're going to be covering later down in the stream. But still, if we're getting this, like, aside from the fact that our value within spot positions would diminish, sure, but being able to trade a range from like 94k towards 80, like this is a 10k range, like that's insane to me, right? So there's going to be a huge amount of opportunities going down within the end of the year, and I think that's going to be great for us. Then we're taking a brief look here at the weekly value. We can clearly see that we saw that shift within weekly developing value. Weekly developing value high has been capping downside ever since its break above, which was bullish. This was my bullish line in the sand, right? Then we accepted back within. We failed to hold back above, and now we're getting that reversion back lower within weekly developing value. For me personally, like from a weekly value perspective, weekly VWAP is likely next. If anything else, right? I'm not really comfortable in taking any trades here whatsoever. We've got weekly close tonight, which will give us, similar to the monthly, a new previous week value. Resistance around 98, right? And then we'll have previous week VWAP around here. So that would line up with equal highs there, and therefore a potential trade that we'll go over in a bit. But still, weekly is rotational within value. Other than that, let's take a look at on the daily. So right here, when Bitcoin is auctioning like it has been doing over the past couple of days, I think it is really good to add like a daily VWAP with standard deviations on your chart as well. Because, when momentum is strong, when we're auctioning in a clear direction, in this case today, it was down, right? So the moment we traded below previous day value low, it was a bearish shift, right? And then we can see that for a continuation trade, every time that the market reaches back up into that developing day value low, it continues to reject, right? Rejection. So there's really no need to become bullish unless we start trading back within developing value. Now, if I were to summarize everything from this, I'd say like my gut feeling is telling me that like for the past week, everybody was so excited about Bitcoin trading near 100k. Like, what was the high? What was it? Like 99,860, right? I mean, that would be, imagine that we're never reaching 100k ever again. Like that will be, I mean, it will be a pain in the ass, but it will be funny at the same time, right? So I think my gut feeling here tells me that we're too overextended on Bitcoin. Altcoins are a bit too overextended as well. If we're taking a brief look here at total tree, we can see that if we're taking a look on the weekly here, we can see that we auctioned above this high, which is good. Then we've got another swing point here. And then if we look closely on the weekly, we've got a bit of a rebalance here going on, right? Where we get a nice two-way trade here before that expansion higher. Now, if we go back towards, let's say, a daily time frame here, we've got a nice consolidation here before we broke above that weekly swing point. So I'm unsure how this is going to be playing out, but what I do know is that when we're getting in, a prolonged range here and we finally retest this previous consolidation, I think that's probably going to be the area where you want to be looking for, longs on, Solana, Dogecoin, Bonk, WIF, etc., right? So I think this pullback here is visible already within some of these pairs where, I mean, some of these higher beta plays are like that's a 30% retrace from the high already, right? That's insane to me. So, altcoins are more reflective to the downside, just because they're just higher beta compared to Bitcoin, right? So what am I looking at going into next week? And before we go over the trades right now, is everybody on the same page in terms of VWAP? We are still bullish. However, my gut feeling here tells me that we might be due for, either a range up here, or we're getting that flush lower where we're taking out these lows into the quarterly developing value high. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. So if I did, I mean, I would have a gazillion views on my stream, right? I don't. So I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do know here is that from a technical perspective, from a technical standpoint, once and if the market traces back into 88k, I think this is going to be your best bang for your buck to be looking for longs for continuation higher. Like usually one of the things that I have PTSD with Bitcoin is that if we have a low like that, we're either front running it by quite a margin where this becomes the low, right? Or we're coming really close, but we never really sweep the lows and then we start continuing to trade high. Do you guys remember this part of previous bull markets where we're getting that first consolidation after this huge impulse move higher? Then we're getting equal lows and everybody is basically waiting for it to sweep the equal lows and then it just leaves them without tagging it whatsoever. Like that's basically what I'm expecting, or what I think would be a good opportunity to be looking for longs, right? Now, I don't think that we should be stepping in front of a train once this really starts moving lower, and if it starts moving lower, but once they're formed, once there's a range that is being formed around these levels, we can take a look at what's TPO doing, right? Are we breaking above previous day value area high? Are we forming a 2-day composite, 3-day composite? Those are all things that will be key triggers for me to be looking for, you know, that confirmation that, all right, well, Bitcoin is putting in a low here. Let's get it going, right? Let's make some money. So is this clear for everybody in terms of VWAP with the locations, what I'm expecting higher time frame, and what I personally deem as a good buying opportunity? Let me know in the chat and then we'll move on. And if there are no further questions, that's great. Let's take a look at a regular chart then. So within this chart, we've got a couple of things. Moving towards the top right corner here, we've got previous week value area high. Now I've set previous week value area high, but it's currently the developing week value. But we've got a daily close today, so it's going to be roughly around 98,790, right? This is going to be a sticky point for Bitcoin as it's the prior week value. If there's going to be any pushback above, you know, and we're getting a close above, I think that's going to be the trigger for 100k. But if we're unable to close above, that's going to be bearish, all right? Then we've got the developing month value area high, and then we've got, which we covered, right? And then we have the developing quarter value area high around 89,400, which is basically my, you know, buy the fucking dip area where I think this is, you know, really going to be a good bang for your buck. And then below this low, we've got, I think this is monthly VWAP. Let me just double check. It is around 84.9, 84. Yeah. So let's just adjust this real quick. Text. Developing monthly VWAP. Otherwise, I don't know what it is. So what we're going to doing, H4 chart. The thing with the bull market here that we currently have, like the theme around these rotations is pretty straightforward. Like, and we shouldn't overcomplicate it because it's really simple at this point. When Bitcoin is auctioning higher, what it tends to do is it tends to find support at the previous H4 order block, right? A bullish order block, H4 down close candle, breaking structure, retest it, support, right? And we continue to do that with every H4 down close candle, right? Support, support, support. Then we've got another one here, right? Support. We didn't tag this one. And now we've got another one here. And this is actually the first time where we've got a H4 down close candle where, you know, the initial buyback was pretty good. You know, but with $500 million in supply here, like this was to be expected, right? Where this wasn't really a quality trade whatsoever. So what I'm currently looking at is, if we're cleaning up this chart real quick, don't want to have too many lines on the chart, is right here, we've got an H4 down close candle right at the developing month value area high. Besides that, we have a previous low and we've got a fair value gap here between this low and, you know, that high roughly. But there's an inefficiency here between these two price points. Now, if we're moving towards an hourly chart, we can see that on an hourly chart, we are now rotational between the previous week value area high around 98k and the developing month value area high 95. This is support, that's resistance. We have anomalies in the form of poor highs there. So there's a reason to go higher for Bitcoin. And we've got a reason to go lower, which is a previous low with pending liquidity. Make no mistake, there's going to be a large amount of buy stops resting below this low. And then we've got a fair value gap. So The first initial 2 trades for me going into next week are not based around the middle of this range, because the middle of this range is what I consider fair value. Now, fair value is an area where everybody agrees on price, right? Everybody thinks, well, this is a good price for Bitcoin. I have no interest in shorting. I have no real interest in longing it. So to me personally, that's not an area where I want to be facilitating trade. What I like to do is once we start trading near a premium, in this case, a standard deviation 1 from this range, right? Standard deviation 1 from fair value, that's a dislocation within the market. So that means to me, if heading into next week, we're getting this, where, you know, we start to auction higher, then maybe we take out the poor highs here. Everybody get really bullish, thinking, well, we're going for new all-time highs. We still have a huge amount of overhang here in terms of fresh supply on Binance and Coinbase. And then what happens is we break back below previous week value high, and then we start to form a consolidation. At that point, once there's a market structure break, I'll be looking for shorts, and I'm going to be targeting this shitty low, especially if we leave this low intact and we start to trade higher on futures open to fill in the gap, right, on CME. This will be a short for me. Now, conversely, if we do not fill in the gap on CME right away, because CME, what's CME trading at? 99. Like, that's a big ass gap, right? 99,815. 99,815. Like 99,8, like that's all the way up here. That's a big gap. So if we don't start to trade higher right away, what I'm interested in is if we can close the hourly like this, where we've got a nice beefy hourly up close candle, right? Let's say that we take out this low into the developing month value area high, confluent with an H4 order block, right? And we sweep this low. When we break back above this hourly block here, that means this becomes a bullish breaker. And at that point, we're coming off a key contextual level, which is a developing month value area high, that's support. We're filling in a fair value gap, anomaly. We took out buy stops below this low, or sell stops below that low, my bad. So if we can retest this, I think it's a good long with an invalidation below the low towards the pending liquidity above these highs into the previous week value to fill in the CME gap. And that's another trade, right? So we've got a short setup if we trade above these highs and we reject at the previous week value. And we get a long setup if we're sweeping this low into the developing month value area high. Now, these 2 trades will have a trigger where we need to wait for a market structure break to confirm buyers or sellers are actually able to, you know, push the market higher or lower. And that's a key aspect for me personally. The other trade that I might be interested in here is, you know, if we're getting acceptance below the developing month value high, right? Let's say that we start auctioning back like here. Like we start to form a range here. We try to accept back above the developing month value high, but then there's fresh supply here. We reject and we get back within the range. I think this is a short for continuation lower towards the deeper correction into that developing quarterly value area high here, confluent with that daily order block. Take out all of these marginally higher lows, right? That will be, this would, for me, would be like the 8+ trade where, let's get this within the screen. If we're getting like a deeper spike into this nice thick H12 order block right there, right? Hold it as support, consolidation here, and then slowly creep upwards to fill in the CME gap again. I think that would be a great trade. Besides those 3 trades, I actually, you know, I think those are the 3 main trades that you should be paying attention to based on Bitcoin. Is that clear? Because then we're going to be taking a look at Ethereum, and then we're going to be taking a look at altcoins, because there's some really quality trades coming up. Let me know in the chat. What's up, Rackmeister? Hope you're well, man. Good morning. It's morning at your place. Damn. It's 8 p.m. here. Nice cup of tea. Right. So let's move towards Ethereum first off. Let's get that within the screen. Yo, what's up, Snack? Good to see you, man. We're just starting on Ethereum here. Bro, living in the future. I always round shit off. Like if it's almost 8 p.m., I'm saying it's 8 p.m. You get it, brother. You get it. All right, so Ethereum. Um, pretty straightforward here. I tweeted about it. 34.95. That's not an area where you want to be looking for fresh longs. It's a developing year value area high. Like this is the highest form of resistance based on VWAP, right? If it's a yearly value and the value area high, it's going to be resistance until proven otherwise. So that was basically the only thing where I based, the TP off, where I was like, if there's going to be seller stepping in here on the developing year value area high, it's going to be here. Now, if you're trading price action, right, take a look at what we have. It's from the previous stream still. We had Candyland stops resting above this high. But what else do we have? Well, if we're taking a look, we've got a 2-day bearish order block here, right at the developing year value area high. So this is a big ass resistance until proven otherwise. Now, what am I expecting? Because I saw someone reply to me like, where are you really comfortable in, looking for longs for Ethereum? Well, honestly, right now, if we're taking a look on this H4, I was waiting during this range, right? You guys know that because I was covering this during the stream. I said, well, we've got the developing year VWAP around 3K 3015-ish, right? It's a developing yearly VWAP. That's higher time frame support. We've got a bunch of stack lows here, and I was waiting for it to sweep it, reclaim it, get balls deep long, and then I wanted to target the pending liquidity here into this high, into developing yearly value high, which is exactly what played out, besides the fact that it didn't sweep the low. So I'm really gutted, right? So where am I looking to trade on Ethereum? Like, what do I think is a quality trade from this point on? Well, honestly, if I'm taking a look here on the, let's say H4, we've got a bit of a fair value gap here. So I think we're probably going to be forming a range here. Now, the area where I am personally the most comfortable in looking for longs is a 2-week VWAP. Now, what's a 2-week VWAP? Well, if we're taking a look here, 2 weeks ago, right now, we basically have a 2-week range. If we're plotting a week, a merge VWAP indicator, or if you're doing it this with a volume profile on TradingView, it's exactly the same. I like to use VWAP. So if we're plotting a VWAP from that week and we plot it throughout until tomorrow, it gives us a 2-week merge from the previous data, right? That VWAP, if we look closely, has been capping upside right there, right? And now that we finally broke through it, we're getting some support here. However, we do have stack lows. So what I would like to see, and this basically lines up with my point of view on Bitcoin, where I think it needs to sweep one more time deeper into the H4 order block before continuing to go higher. What I want to see here is, let's see if we retest range high and we take out this low and maybe fill in 50% of this fair value gap from that high towards this low. If we take that out into the 2-week volume weighted point of control here, and then reclaim that range, I think that might be the low for me to get long. And I'm going to be targeting the fair value gap there. And I'll be hoping that Ethereum finally starts moving, because every time when I start longing this piece of shit, it doesn't move whatsoever, right? So I'll let you guys know if I get long, because at that point you don't want to get long. But I think if there's going to be a low on Ethereum, this genuinely needs to hold. And that's around 32.23, right? That's the area where it really needs to hold a support, because if we do not hold this as support, like this basically becomes a deviation of this range, and at that point there's a fuck ton of liquidity resting below this low. And I think once that occurs, I'll be looking for shorts towards this low there, right? So this genuinely needs to hold a support. Do you use a footprint every time when you get a trade? No, not really, not every time. I really like to use it on Bitcoin, not on Ethereum as well, not necessarily on altcoins, but what I mainly use to get into trades are, for example, if we go towards Coinbase here and we go towards a 30-minute time frame, like 100K was an important level. There were trades here based on order flow, but what I tend to do is I tend to look at a high volume bar, right? That plots a point of control for me. And at that point, if I see trap traders here, where majority of the volume is being transacted at the highs and we close at the lows, then this is a pretty no-brainer short for me with an invalidation above that high, right? Second entry there, right? And then we start auctioning lower. So that's a short setup. A long setup would basically be where we have a point of control at the lows. If I can see something here nearby or a breakaway. I don't necessarily see one nearby. I think it was this one, maybe. I don't know, but that's usually what I tend to look for. It is a simplified version of looking at order flow. So when I'm looking at order flow, basically what I want to ask myself every time when I'm looking at a trade is, are there any fresh positions being opened here that are currently in pain? Do they have an incentive to close their position, and will that be positive for my trade, right? So I want them to close or be forced to close their position, which results the market to go into the opposite direction. Yeah, you can, I mean, like there's two ways to get it. Like if you're trading on Bybit, you can, or on Bloven as well these days. Like I have made a Discord bot. If you join the Discord link that's in the description below this stream, you can join it, and then you can link your user ID if you're trading on a referral link from me on Bybit or Bloven for that matter. And if you reach like a certain threshold, you'll get free access. If you don't really like to do that, you can always go to the website, primetrading.ai, and that's it. That being said, right, if we're taking this back towards Ethereum, because that's where we win, I think H4, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the merge VWAP. Goodbye. So I think heading into next week, the trade on Ethereum for me would basically be to see how we react around this previous high, because make no mistake, right, we got this high and then we have a bearish OB. We've got a fair value gap there. So if we start to auction higher, reject here, it might be a good shorting opportunity towards these lows here. Eventually, you know, I still believe that Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to go much higher. So should we sweep the lows and reclaim that range low, that's a long for me towards, you know, developing yearly value high again to see what's up. Let's take a look at Ethereum against Bitcoin, because I want to have the 30-day rolling VWAP, right? Right here. 3-day chart. Reset chart view. 2-day chart, I think, might be better. Let's go with a daily chart. Okay. So there's a clear pattern here on Ethereum against Bitcoin. And that is every time it starts to trade towards the 30-day rolling VWAP, it rejects, right? Rejects, auction lower, rejects, auction lower, deviated it, auction lower again. And now we're finally coming into some weekly support here. And I'll be honest, it is starting to look pretty promising, where I'm like, you know, we just swept the low. However, we are not really able to reclaim that supply here yet. What I would like to see, and what will confirm it for me that Ethereum is going to be outperforming Bitcoin, is where it can really start to form value above that 30-day rolling VWAP. If we can have that, I think it is time to really start paying attention to Ethereum, because at that point, either Bitcoin is going to be auctioning lower, or it's going to be remaining within a range here around 100K. And then meanwhile, Ethereum is going to be going berserk, right? And that will be good for altcoins as well, because we saw it like when Ethereum really started to go higher on Friday, like the entire Ethereum ecosystem is so super hungry for a good pump. You just saw like instant 10%ers across the board. So I think if we're getting that confirmation on Ethereum, even if you're a big fan of Solana, right, and you prefer that over Ethereum, I think for the entire market, like that will be really good. And we will be making a lot of money on altcoins if that happens, right? So yeah. Moving towards, so that's that on Ethereum in terms of trades. Is that clear? Right, because if we're taking a look here, we might be in for some retracements back towards this weekly swing point, and that will line up with a lot of the altcoins, which currently have a similar structure. So I'll be going over ADF first, moving towards some 2-day time frame, and let me know, pick one altcoin that you want to cover and send it in the chat right now, and then we're going to be going over some requests after that. Yeah, I mean, Gensler was stepping down. So when was the date that he's actually stepping down? When is it? So right here, right, ADA Cardano is reaching up into a 2-day bearish order block. Besides the 2-day bearish order block and a monthly mitigation, right, if we're taking a look at the monthly chart here, it is looking insane. However, we're coming into a big resistance here, right? And the next likely support for me personally is going to be this block right here at 0.65. So I think if we're getting that level, that's going to be a really good area to be looking for some longs. Now, if we're moving towards a daily time frame around this level, right, what do we have? We've got a 30-day rolling VWAP here, and we've got a nice BV down close candle. So I'm going to be remaining patient here. I know a lot of people are hungry for a trade on this pair. Me personally, like, I don't see a trade nearby here. I want to see a bit more of you know, at least a bit of a range to determine, you know, we're going to be auctioning higher or not. So let's say that this is going to be the range. I need to see more value being formed here. Maybe a deviation, like let's say that we're getting this. Let's say that this is the new range. Then we're getting a spike above range high, and then we reclaim it as resistance. That's a short trade for me towards the lows into the fair value gap here, into that structure. Conversely, right, if we start to form like a, you know, a nice Christmas tree, right, like that, because it's the season, into 0.65, I think this is going to be a really good area to be looking for spot plays for the next leg upwards towards, I don't know, higher, right? So it's nice. I see that none of you guys have the altcoins that I've prepared. AVAX, do I have that? No, I don't have it. So let's just go with those. And I'll start with the first one. So we've got AVAX. Let's start it off. AVAX, USDT. I thought some of you would have liked to see Dogecoin, Solana, Bonk, whatever, but apparently not. Good old Christmas tree trade. Yeah, you got that right, brother. So I think AVAX was good. This is from the previous stream, right? This was the range. Let's close off the 30-day rolling VWAP. Let's break it down from a 2-day. 2-day fair value gap here. Let's make sure that we have the reset scale on right here. So we outlined the 2-day fair value gap here from this low towards that high. The midpoint was where we rejected here. Then we auctioned lower. We formed a range high, range low, deviation. This right here, this is that typical tree trap, right? One drive, this is where we sweep it. And then the third attempt right here, this is usually where you want to be looking for longs. So this is where you start to look for longs, and then we continue to auction higher, right? Then I said, if we're getting acceptance above range high, then this is the area where I'm going to be looking for longs. Of course, I didn't long it myself because I'm a cunt, but let's see how it looks. Daily chart right here, right? We had acceptance above. Let's see, what else do we have here? H4. Do we have anything on the H4? No, why do I have this here? Oh, we do. Down close candle, auction higher. Took out this low, market structure break. Damn. And I didn't trade it myself. All right. Either way. We went straight to target. We took out this high. And now we're basically seeing some pullbacks here. So what I would like to see for continuation, and you know, majority of the altcoins look like this. Let's see, what else do we have? We've got this swing point. Let's mark that out. Right here, that swing point. And then we have this previous consolidation here. H12. That right there. Let's just do it like this. Right there. That previous consolidation. So I'm thinking here, AVAX is looking really good. I mean, even on the H12 or the 2-day, my bad. Let's go with these. Right here. Like if you're trading spot, like this is the play. Any pullback back into this level, let's say that we're forming a range daily, range high. And this is going to be the range low. Let's say that this is the range for now. What I want to see is, I want the value to being built up here. I want to see liquidity being built up below this low in the form of stops, right? Because people are longing this too early. Then they need to get rinsed out, reclaim it. We're coming off 2-day support, reclaim the range, and it's go time. However, what I do want to point out before we start covering a lot of altcoins, this is highly dependent on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin starts to take a shit towards 88K, make no mistake, no matter how good your order block is looking on an altcoin, it's going to trade right through it, right? Because it's just higher beta compared to Bitcoin. So right, remember that we're going to be doing the altcoins, but remember that it's highly dependent on Bitcoin. All right, so next one, Avex. We've got Jasmine. Jasmine, what's that? A T? Jasmine, use the T. Like, I'm really scared that I'm going to be opening up an old chart, right? That's the most painful thing to do, where like, you know, you nailed down the trade, but you didn't take it. All right, first off, right here. Let's get rid of that color right there. Swing point, daily chart. We had a sweep above this high. Then we have a nice daily bearish OB here. Again, like that. The range that we're trading out of is range low, range high, like that. Fill in a gap. Now we're retesting this. I'd say this right here is going to be your mitigation level. H12 looking pretty good. Swept this low. $30-minute time frame. 2-hour chart. I give it a bit of breathing room here. I'd say let's stick towards an H4. Mark out this low right here. And then what you want to see, essentially, it depends on what type of trader you are, right? If you're looking for short-term trades, then I will wait for a 30-minute trade. Let it spike below this low once more, then have a market structure break. For example, let's say that this is the low. I want to see one final auction below this low, market structure break towards the upside. Then that's the area where you want to be looking for buys. And we're going to be targeting the pending liquidity above this high into that weekly swing point. What I absolutely do not want to see, and that's what would trigger shorts for me, is a clean break back below this range high. That will be bearish. But so far, it's looking good. You know, it's just a really clean break above range high, retest it. We're rejecting off a 2-day resistance here with that weekly swing point. However, as long as we're breaking above this range from August, it's looking good for upside, to be honest. Like, confirmation that we're really going higher, obviously is going to be above this 2-day block. But so far, it's looking good. What else? Aptos. Let's get it. Perp already. Oh, Aptos doesn't have a perp. Or am I writing this wrong? Or is it APT? Is it APT? Rob Fake, my guy. I said 1 altcoin per person. He's out here spamming the fucking bazooka. Near Chia Sirviando. He's like, get this bread, brother. I need all my altcoins. All right, I'll cover this. Let's confirm that first about the Aptos. Sui USDT. Okay, looking good. Where do I have that swing point from? Based on nothing, basically. It's a good line. I think it was a fib extension or something. So let's cover this one first. Went above this high. That's good. I don't want that line. Daily chart. H12. All right, H12. We've got an H12 down close candle here. Right there. You know, if it's going to go for the next leg upwards, pretty straightforward. This needs to hold invalidation below that low, because if it doesn't, it's going back to fill in this fair value gap here. And if we're taking a swing point from that high towards that, we're trading below that 0.5 of that range. So this is a good area. It's a discount. So it needs to hold a support for continuation higher. If we're failing to do so, we're filling in the inefficiency here back towards the 1.9. So how do I define the altcoins that are outperforming and getting strength? Well, that's pretty basic for me. If we're taking a look at, because that's funny, because a lot of the altcoins that I'm currently seeing are not outperforming whatsoever. So you guys are either back holding or you're chasing the wrong shit. So in this case, small caps outperforming here on the monthly perspective, on a monthly basis. Number 3, inputs 3. So that is Ray, 1 inch, Comp, RSR, right? Blur. Those are outperforming right now. Even better, right? Because memes took an absolute nosedive here. They took a shit. Like worst performing here, right? Here as well. In this case, GM, we've got, that's number 9. Number 9, right? Outperforming. This is on a weekly and this is on the daily. So today, right, we can see SAI has been outperforming FTM and Beam. And on the weekly, AXS, GMT. So this is basically how I determine what I want to be trading. All right, let's go back towards the regular price action. So let's start with Sol. Right, so SUI, this needs to hold. H12 down close candle before we broke higher. This is support until proven otherwise. Genuinely needs to hold a support, because if it doesn't hold a support, it's going to go way lower. Now, Solana was looking pretty good. We just took out the all-time high here, right? If we're taking a look at the daily chart. We'll go all the way back in time. We took out this all-time high here, right? Then we saw the initial reaction here. And then we have the developing month value high support. And another level that we have is the developing quarterly value high. So what I would like to see here is, first off, you know, if this is going to be holding a support, right? If we're going to go for another attempt at the highs, it is highly dependent on Bitcoin again. But this is going to be a good level of support for potential continuation higher. Oh my God, the weather is getting insane here. My preference here, if we're taking a look at the 2-day, we have a nice 2-day down close candle at the developing quarterly value high around 222, right? 222. This would be, for me, a way more comfortable long. Like, I think if we're indeed going to go for a market-wide pullback, then this is going to be an area where I'm going to be really looking for longs with an invalidation below this low, right? But until that happens, I personally think that we're coming off support here. And that a lot will happen on whether or not we are able to reclaim this H4 up close candle before we took out the lows. Because we're still coming off support, right? This is support until proven otherwise. It's confluent with a contextual level, developing month value, right? So if it can show us that we're trading above a previous low and we're breaking above this H4 up close candle, I think you can look for additional longs up here and then trail your invalidation for the next leg upwards, right? Barcelona. What else? With is holding up pretty okay, but look, I mean, some of these are, some of these are meme coins, which is why they plummeted within the monthly basis chart, right? They are no longer outperforming whatsoever. Let's start on the weekly. So on the weekly, we've got this right here as a key inflection point on this chart, right? We can see it right here, resistance, resistance. Now we're finally breaking through. We have a bit of a gap here, but until proven otherwise, weekly support is here. If we're narrowing down towards the daily chart, we can see interactions here with the range right there, right? And then right here, once we broke above, we immediately filled in the gap here before continuing to auction higher. Now, if we really lower down into the H12, we can see that we have an H12 down close candle and that we're currently finding some sort of a support at this level. However, I'm not a huge fan of how this is grinding into that level, right? What I would personally prefer to see is, let's say that this is going to be our range low right here. Let's get that line. By the way, did WIF ever go onto that dome or not? The sphere, right? In Vegas. Because they raised like a fuck ton of money for it. So a trade for me would be sweep it, reclaim it, then yeah, let's go. Because right now I'm not a big fan of how it's grinding into that support level. I think it's building too much liquidity, and if Bitcoin farts lower, then this is going to be taking a dip below that low, in my opinion. Then reclaim it. At that point, yeah, I'm long. But until then, staying out. Let's see what else. Near, we can do near. We covered that last week. Let's have a look at what the perp right there. H12. Right. Yeah, I think it's coming pretty close. With that previous stream, we said I was probably going to be filling in that 50% of the gap, right? And we're currently doing it of that 2-day. So I think if you're long, then this is a good area to start to take some profits. And then ultimately, we maybe have a mitigation level here where, if it really starts to auction higher, let's take a look at the H12. It's a messy chart, man. Like these wicks. I don't really like that. 4-hour chart. Nah, let's stick to the H12. I'd say give it some breathing room here. Definitely take some profits because I know you're long from lower. But this right here, this 2-day down close candle, broke above, retest it. These are clear trades. Right now, we're coming into a premium here, right? If we're taking a fib from this swing point towards that swing low, we're trading around, I don't know, the 786 roughly, right? Filling in the fair value gap into a 2-day bearish OB. I think we're probably going to be forming a range here. So what I would do is start taking some profits from your position from lower on. And what I would like to see is, let's see if we can find value above this level, right? Form a range, then spike it, show us that they're willing to hold it. Then there's a complementary long towards your earlier position based off that pivot, right? That's what I would do. What I do not want to see is I do not want to see a break below this high. That would be bearish. Mudang. USDT perp. Right. Woo. Wasn't everybody super bullish on this? What's the market cap right now of this? What's it trading at? Weekly. Honestly, like, if I would just treat this as a regular coin, like a weekly there. I mean, I think everything within this region, that's a buy. 370 mil? All right, that's decent. I mean, I would love to get, like, let it dip here. And with these plays, I won't necessarily do leverage. One of the things that I like to see with these type of setups is to just let it die out. Then maybe let it wick, like build a position within this region, and then we can target higher prices. Like get a fib from that high towards the low, and then target is going to be 1, right? That would be a good first point. But I think, if it's going to be forming a base down here, then yeah, definitely, then that's a good play. FTM, let's take a look. So let it build a base down here. Do you want to have it on Grant? Do you want to have it on Bybit or Binance? The chart. Oh, it's moving. I mean, look at these charts, bro. if I'm looking at this from this perspective, I'm like, oh, it's moving up a lot. And then I'm looking at to the left, I'm like, damn, 3. All right. Let's get some lines in. Swing point. It's another point. 2-day. Whoops. This is the range that I'm looking at right now. From that range, what's the midpoint? All right. So this is always a good technique that I tend to use to determine if I'm trading the right range. If you're plotting a range high and a range low, and you are unsure whether or not you're using a proper range, check how the mid of that range is acting, right? If it's a good auctionable level, then you're using a good range. Let's make this thicker. 2, 2. All right. Yeah, I'm thinking that it's going to go for the highs at least. From a 2-day perspective, we have this mitigation around midpoint. So I do not want to see any move back below this level. I want this to be support. And then ultimately, like best case for more upside would be a short-term range, down close candle like that. And then another candle above. And then this becomes our next bullish invalidation, right? Where we can look for longs additionally on that bullish order block retest. Does that make sense, Grant? So if we're forming a range here after breaking above that range high, ideally we form a down close candle before we do so, because that would mean, right, similar to this, down close candle, break above, look at the retest there to the tick, continuation higher. So I think this looks great, to be honest. We're trading above mid-range, pending liquidity above the high. If Bitcoin can behave, then we're definitely due for some upside. Might be looking for additional longs here on the mitigation towards higher prices. What's the other chart that you posted? 0.995, 0.995. This is where you've taken like a long position or like take profits. Oh yeah, after the sweep of this low. Sweep of the low, market to break. I mean, honestly, I would like to see this hold a support, to be honest. Right there. This needs to hold like this block here for that sweep towards the highs. Or you're short. What are you, long or short? Ah, from 0.5. All right, that's good. Yeah, that's a clean trade, bro, from that point. I think if it's going to go towards the highs, we will want this midpoint to hold a support. But that's a great trade. The 1.15 level is huge resistance. Yeah. We just covered Mudang. So everybody's fan of Mudang. I would just, there's going to be two plays. It's either going to be forming a low here, right here, at this base, right? That previous consolidation. It's either going to be forming a low here, or it's going to be a bit more like time-based capitulation where we start forming a base here. If I was looking to get in, I will be waiting for this area to really go in, right? You could take the trade here and you are wrong below this low for upside. But I think, if it starts to bleed out around this region, then yeah, then that's where I want to get involved for sure. Yeah. Yep, nice one as well. So pretty straightforward from this point on. 2-day chart. Oh, look at this. Picture perfect retest of that 2-day order block. Like the 2 days on altcoins are so super clean, bro. Like it's insane. I'm thinking you got a gap there. That's a potential destination. If it can form anything here around range high, I'll be looking to get long towards that pivot. H12, do we have anything? No, not really. So let's see. Let's see how it develops. But looking good. Clean break above range high, like the destination of that gap on the 2-day. What's Pierre doing? I don't know. Let's take a look. I don't know. Why am I always seeing this shit? That's insane, bro. Like it's going up, that's for sure. What's Bitcoin doing? Finding a base. Yeah, I think, if Bitcoin can behave here and just form a range here, up here, around these elevated levels, then altcoins will do really well. We'll start to see a lot of these trades going. All right, let's do a couple of more. Weekly chart. Okay, that's looking good. I like that rounded structure here. So right off the bat, I'd say swing low here. We are now reclaiming that swing low. Around that swing low, we have a potential upcoming weekly bullish order block here. The range that we're going to be trading within is going to be this range. From that low towards that high. 2-day chart. No, actually, I want you to have it towards that. And then I want you to double check. 50, all right. So that's the range. We have a fair value gap here. Let's make it orange. Region to go higher. Daily time frame. I think on the 2 days, probably going to be 3-day. Let's take a look. Yeah. So 3-day OB there, and on the week. Yeah, I mean, if you're trading this from a spot perspective, then as long as this weekly OB holds, if we're closing the week up here, any retest back basically within this candle is going to be a good buying opportunity for a move towards that weekly fair value gap. This gap here. So yeah, this is looking good. Great eye. Well spotted. I mean, if it could do something like this. I keep fucking around with the scale. Right, we can see the previous interactions here. Right there as well. Now we're finally trading back above. Spike it early on next week. Continuation higher toward this gap and potentially these highs. Looks good. Oh, it's a DAC coin, Pierre. ACT. Oh, damn, bro. What happened with this one? Unironically, probably going to be pushing hard, to be honest. This is one of my favorite plays. Right. Like, neglect the meme lines, but they work. I mean, this would have been even better, right? If you reject there and then form a base. But what I'll be watching for is, I think this is the channel that we're currently trading. right there. However, within this channel, we've got this right here, H4, and we just took out this low. So we took out the low right here. And then by doing so, we formed an H2 up close candle, right? We took out the low. If it's bullish, if you want to be looking for longs, you need to see a break above. Because that means A, that we're finally breaking through this channel, right? The upper channel. And B, we have a market structure break. And at that point, these highs are going to be next, right? So that's what I would look for. Otherwise, reject and probably going to go towards this previous low. Wifey Bitcoin one day. Oh, damn. Oh, shit, bro. There's a line from me from back in the day. Here. But that's looking horrendous. It reminds me of Zcash, this chart. You guys remember Zcash? Damn. What's the new ticker for Matic? Matic did a rebrand, right? I want to chart it for you, but oh, Coinbase listing. All right. Fucking Coinbase. They need to pump my bags. Jesus. Oh, it's Pole. All right. You better not be pumping because I know I marked out a low. I marked out a low there. Watch this, right? Let's see if you can laugh. Fucking hell. See, I knew it. 4 hour. Did it at least take out the low? Oh yeah, it did. It did take out the low. Good. Good, good. Right. So weekly, 2-day, daily. First off, let's get some fibs going from this high towards that low. Currently trading around the 1.618. 1.618. We have another line here. Like that Meta coin is always the biggest scam ever, right? Coordinates 0.70, 0.7 ish. Let's just drag it up. Fuck it. All right. I'll be doing go after this one. All right, guys. So right here, this was the range, right? It's at 2 equal lows. We swept it, reclaimed it, back within the range. H12. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily see a clean setup to get into this right away. What I prefer to do is I tend to wait for a bit of a consolidation to form. My bad. So let's say that I was waiting up here and I noticed that we form an H12 up close candle, right? I will set an alert right here. And the moment we start closing above it, I'll get long and I'll set my stop below the low. That's how I usually get into these trades. So let's say that we form a big beefy H12 down close candle here, right? It's a red candle. We close all the way at the low, filling in this fair value gap here. Next candle, we close upwards above this candle open, right? When that occurs, I tend to get long with my validation below this low, because if I'm right, this now becomes an H12 bullish order block because it's trading at a key contextual level, right? This fit, and then we can target continuation higher. So that's how I would get in. I don't necessarily see that trade setup right now. Of course, you can start looking at the H4 chart, hourly chart, and so on, but I don't really like to do it on altcoins because it adds too much noise, right? But it's looking good. Goat. Right there. Right. All right. That's looking good as well. I like that. Previous month VWAP. This is basically what I would like to trade. November. Oh, nice. October. Can't really use that, can't we? Nope, can't. Never mind. No VWAP labels. It's too young on this pair. So right here, looking nice, right? Up close candle, took out the low, break through it cleanly, bullish breaker on the day. We have that previous low. So what I would like to see is if it can show me that form a range, sweep low, break structure, that's the long. I think these type of movements need to have like a bit of a consolidation. They break out of this downtrend, then they consolidate, spike the low, then they break structure, and then that's where you want to get involved. I want to see this cluster holder support. What's funding like on GOAT? Bonk. I had that here, I think, somewhere. Right there. I think this is looking good as well. I think this is, Bonk is extremely strong. It has been really strong last week as well. And the main pivot that you want to be looking for is this weekly support at 4. We can see the previous interactions there, right? Right there, right there, right there. Broke through it cleanly. And now if we're taking a look on the H12, we have a H12 down close candle before we broke higher. I think, if it can allow us a retest here into that weekly support level, then I will be looking for longs. When do I switch? When am I going to be looking for a more aggressive approach to be looking for longs is when we start to close back above this H12 up close candle. If we're closing above, then that's where I want to get into longs. Right there, right? So I'm either going to be waiting for a move back into this weekly support, or I'll be getting in once we start to break above this H12. What do you think if we only open long for a ticker that respects the DMA? Seems I'll go push it too higher. Yeah, I mean, if that's your preference, then yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why I prefer to look at VWAP, right? Because a lot of systematic approaches or like people with a systematic approach to the markets are looking at VWAP as well. That's why it works. So whatever rocks your boat. But yeah, I think we've did like. I wish I could do all of the altcoins. Like I really wish I could do them. But I think it's going to be better if we're just going to be doing a dedicated altcoin stream, right? Because right now we did Bitcoin and altcoins, and I don't want to do it too long. We're already 1 hour in, I think. So I think I would like to thank everybody for their time here. Do me a favor, leave me a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys on the next one, right? Take care. Have a wonderful Sunday. And to the people of the group, I will be streaming live again tomorrow morning around 9 a.m. UTC. All right. See you guys tomorrow morning. Take care. Peace.